South Africa is in a state of crisis. That's according to Ivor Chipkin from public policy think tank GAP. He's penned an interesting piece stating that South Africa is blowing in the wind. Chipkin reflects on where we are as a nation and the influence of state institutions on our political sphere. He further says the promise of a non-racial democracy is far from reality.
Where we are today is, I think, this particular idea of South Africa is in trouble. It's both in trouble at the level of ideas. I think there are many ideas that are contesting it. But most importantly, in South Africa, the idea of South Africa wasn't just expressed at the level of talk, at the level of symbols. It was instantiated in our constitution, and it gave rise to a whole constellation of institutions of state and of government. So when I say that it's blowing in the wind, I mean at the level of ideas, but also many of the institutions that were established and created to give expression to that idea are in fundamental trouble. So I think we're in a state of crisis. And what I wanted to argue and what I wanted to do in that piece was to say that the crisis is not just about bad people stealing a lot of money. It's not just about corruption. It's rather that underpinning our current malaise is a crisis of politics, a crisis of ideas, a crisis of a sense of who we are as a South African people, and do we want to even be a South African people? South Africa is full of a language of radicalism, a language which identifies self-consciously as radical, a language of decolonization, and yet when I listen to that language, when I read that language, I see nothing radical at all, especially when it denounces South Africa's constitutional settlement, when it denounces the idea of non-racialism in the name of it. Somehow non-racialism is some kind of Mickey Mouse, multiracial kumbaya, all holding hands and singing songs together. When I look at that radicalism or those claims to decolonialism, what I see in those things is a very ancient and very disturbing European nationalism. That's the great irony. So in the name of radicalism, what the radicals are offering us is a very disturbing 19th century, early 20th century European nationalism.